guys, it's Casimus Lego, and welcome to my custom Lego minifigure showcase to coincide with tonight's release of Dune, the first installment in the new film duology by director Denis Villeneuve. And as a fan of the original novel, I have been so excited to see the planet of Arrakis come to life yet again. And for this video, we have Paul Atreides, the Duke of Caladan Leto Atreides, and the Baron of Gadi Prime himself, the Vladimir Harkonnen, all of which were made over the course of 3 weeks just for tonight's launch of the movie. But man, this is such a surreal experience for me as a fan of Frank Herbert's expansive saga, especially after the fact that this film was delayed last year, but that was totally alright because it allowed more time for the film to be developed, which seems to have massively paid off since all the early reviews for the film have been nothing but positive. It also allowed time for me to properly prepare for tonight. I dusted up on my Dune knowledge, I learned a whole bunch of stuff that was completely new to me, just stuff I didn't catch when I was younger, and I've even re-experienced the novel by listening to Britt Bong Speak's Dune audio series whenever I could before it was sadly taken down from YouTube, which really sucks. But either way, it looks like Villeneuve's Dune Part 1 is going to be a highlight of the year. I mean, what person could be more fitted to adapt this series to film than a big Dune fan like Villeneuve himself? If you look at his interviews or straight up interactions with the press, you can really tell how passionate he is about his craft. It's such a rewarding feeling going into this film knowing that the series is in good hands, and who knows, with the success of this film, we may even see the other books brought to life too, which would be so cool. However, that's still a big possibility, but for the time being, I couldn't be more thrilled to be a part of this experience by creating these minifigures and to be presenting them to you in this fashion. I'm really proud of each of these guys, and I hope you'll enjoy them. But with all that being said, let's go and take a look at these minifigures. Okay, so starting off the showcase, we have the Messiah of Dune, Paul Atreides, portrayed by the phenomenally talented Timothée Chalamet. The biggest challenge with this minifigure for me was figuring out how I was going to go about the robes, because if you notice on official figurines such as McFarlane toys or even pop figures, he has this sort of robe to him, but then you look at officially released costumes and concept art, he has no such thing, and so how it was going to bridge the gap was the biggest challenge. And so what I ultimately decided to do was actually combine those two elements. So he has a fabric waistcoat as well as a fabric cape and the scarf piece on top, but I also actually extended that kind of cape here by sculpting onto the arms to make that look like the fabric continued over the arms, which I think is a really nice addition to the minifigure. The biggest thing you're also going to see about this figure is that there's lots of sculpting on this. I originally painted a lot of this detail. For instance, the knee pads and the arm pads down here, that was all painted originally, but I hated it so much that I had to go about doing this in a different way, and so what I ultimately decided to do was sculpt those things. And so the arms, for instance, these pieces on the arms as well as the knee pads are all sculpted, as well as the arms over here, and I think it makes for a really consistent pattern that I really like, especially the elbow pads. I think look really cool. I guess I'll go ahead and show the Chris knife now. The Chris knife is an official Lego sword. It's kind of like those Hobbit swords, and I'll see if I can get it into focus this time because I realized with Loki I did not. But the Chris knife, I can't get it in my hand. There we go. If it's in focus, great. There we go. The Chris knife is one of those Hobbit swords that I've been using for minifigures, and I painted those rings on there. That was really tedious. You can really see the rings that I painted, as well as the detail on the top, and I even painted a little brown area down there to kind of make it look like it was the actual Chris knife in the film. But I think it's a really cool addition. I really love this accessory, and I'm really glad I got to make it. The rest of the minifigure is really complex as well. You can see the still suit is so complex. There's many different layers on this. Up here there are layers. There's a layer down here that's kind of like the chest piece. Other layers include, of course, the back, and by that I mean there is a sculpted scarf, you could say. But you know, the painting on the legs also contribute to the back, and I think it looks really nice. The brown painting that I did is really smooth, and I think it came out to really inherit this minifigure a great thing. That didn't make any sense, but you know what I'm trying to say. I think it came out really well. One of my favorite parts is actually the headpiece itself. This is kind of credit to Nate Minifigs on Instagram. He actually made a Paul last year, and he's one of the only people that I've seen make Dune minifigures, but he used a Legolas head, I'm pretty sure, on his minifigure, and I thought that was an excellent likeness to Timothée Chalamet, and so I decided to carry it over myself. I removed the cheekbones, repainted the pupils and the eyebrows, and I still think it looks really nice as the minifigure head. And then the hairpiece is the Manamuda hairpiece, actually, from Harry Potter, and I thought it was actually really nice. I was going to use that kind of grandmother hairpiece, but that just did not look good for me, honestly, and so I decided what was the next alternative, and I decided on this hairpiece, which I think actually looks really nice for Paul Atreides. It's a really nice addition, and I think it tops off the minifigure really well. So I think that's it for Paul Atreides. I'm going to see if I can give him his knife, and yeah, let's go ahead and get it back to him. There we go. Awesome. Okay, there is Muad'Dib Paul Atreides. Next up is the Duke of Caladan, Duke Leto Atreides, and I really like the way this came out because he's very simplistic compared to most of my other minifigures that I make. You take one look at this and he's got a painted torso, a fabric jacket, and then some shoes and a beard. And I guess the beard is the most complex part, but the rest of it is really nice and simple, and I think it really works in his favor. Specifically, I really like the coattails up here. I think that it came out really nice. The rest of the figure, I'll show you the torso right now. The torso is just a painted torso in there to resemble the outfits that he wears. I know he wears this in a few scenes of the trailers, but specifically it's on artwork for some sort of magazines, if I remember correctly. But I think it came out really nice. I'll definitely show up a picture if I can find an existing reference to show you. But the rest of the figure is pretty nice. I gave him a pocket under the arm, which isn't exactly the most accurate thing, but I think it came out really fine regardless. I think it's pretty cool. He's got the Atreides symbols up here on the top, which are painted on both arms in gold, which I think came out really nice. He's got some painted shoes. They're just painted legs. There's nothing else on there, just the boots, and that's pretty much it. He's got painted details onto the waist as well. The head is also pretty simple. I used the Oscar Isaac head from Star Wars The Force Awakens and sculpted a beard onto it, painted up in black, and then added some gray to it to make it look a bit more natural because his hair in the film is much more lighter than a standard black. I also painted on some cheekbones and repainted the eyebrows to make the color more consistent. But other than that, he's a really simplistic minifigure. I don't have any accessories for him. I did actually give him some glove tops, and then there's some painted detail in the back to represent the coat itself. So yes, that's it for Duke Leto Atreides. Last but certainly not least is the dark and cruel leader of House Harkonnen, the Vladimir Baron himself. And this was a minifigure I know I definitely did not want to get wrong. Stellan Skarsgård has delivered us the most intimidating performance of the character, and I think this ultimately came out to be a really good representation of the Baron. Thank you for that. That being said, the most difficult part of this minifigure was actually trying to figure out how I was going to go about making it, because there is still a severe lack of reference, even to this day, and so I had to make one of two choices. One, I could either do what McFarlane Toys did and sculpt a whole bunch of armor, or go for a more simplistic route and more inaccurate route and do the robed appearance, which I think is much better. But as I've mentioned, there's still a severe lack of reference for this minifigure, and so what I had to do was comb through any featurette, any part of the trailer that had the character in it, take any screenshot and brighten the crap out of it, and try to make out as much detail as I possibly could. And about a week of studying the figure later, I came up with this design. I'm still pretty proud of it, and so I'm going to go over this pretty quickly here. He's got a lot of gunmetal detail, which a lot of it is inaccurate, but a lot of it is also accurate. A lot of this comes from concept art, as well as appears from that featurette, and then this pretty much down here is completely just my own custom design, which I think fits seamlessly with the rest of it. There's a lot of also robe detailing here. He has a fabric waistcoat, and this piece is also three-dimensional, and all this detail is all painted on to be as consistent as possible, and I think it came out really well. Back here there's also some red squares, which I don't really know the significance of, but he had those in the featurette, and so I decided to paint them on. He has sculpting on the torso as well as the arms to give it the robed appearance, which I think came out really nice. And then I can talk about the head now. The head was a challenge to do for sure, and I made sure that I wanted to make it look as creepy and gross as possible, and the first step of that was achieving the skin tone, which I think I kind of goofed up here, because when I was envisioning making this minifigure, I was more envisioning a tone that was kind of like skin color, and I have an example right here. Here's Grima Wormtongue's head. I'm actually going to be making a Grima Wormtongue later this year for Lord of the Rings: The Two Towers, and this was the skin tone that I was envisioning, because if you look at official promotion art, he's not the same color as a lot of the same actors in the film. He's more of a pale, and I came up with this color, which is a bit more white, and I think it turned out fine enough, but it's still not the most accurate color for him, and I recognize that, so hopefully no one really freaks out, and I don't think anyone really will. But yeah, the rest of the detail was fairly simple. It is painted, which was a challenge on the color because it's kind of light and chunky, but it ultimately came out really well. I did sculpt the crevice in the middle to remove that neck, because he kind of has a Peter Griffin going on where he just does not have a neck, and so the way that I achieved that was sculpting over and sanding it to make it look flush with the rest of it, and I think it came out really well. The painted details really look nice and resemble Stellan Skarsgård's likeness, especially those wrinkles around the eyes. I'm ultimately really proud of this minifigure, and I think it's just it's a great achievement and a great addition to my collection. The Baron is going to be such an amazing character in this movie, and I cannot wait to see him in the performance that he displays. And that's basically it for the Baron and the rest of the Dune minifigures, so let's go ahead and wrap up this video. That's going to be it for this video, everybody. Thank you so much for watching. If you enjoyed this video or have any thoughts or critiques, or maybe you're just as excited for this movie as I am, you can always let me know by dropping a like or writing a comment. I accept all forms of criticism, and if you'd like, you can head over to my social media pages where I post updates and announcements about what I'm doing next, as well as high-quality edits of minifigures. I would sincerely appreciate it. Links are down below. You guys are awesome, but I gotta go. As always, I'll see you next time. Goodbye.